In October 2015, special assignment broadcast By Their Fruits, the first part of an ongoing investigation into government's land reform policies. We focused on a Dedurans grape farm nestled in the Western Cape's Hex River Valley. This farm could become a crucial test case in assessing the fruits of South Africa's commercial agriculture policies and whether or not they can reap a fertile harvest or a bitter one. Tonight we bring you part 2. This is Nirvana, a small farm in Dedurans of almost 40 hectares, producing table grapes for local sale and export. It was bought by government in 2012 as part of the Recapitalisation and Development Programme. This is a policy aimed at empowering emerging farmers with the social and economic infrastructure and basic resources required to develop a successful agricultural business.
You're providing the emerging farmer with the starting up capital, so that that farmer doesn't need to go to a financial institution to go make a loan. So that they invest that in the farm. In this case, it will be grapes. So in the first year, they should make a profit based on what the business plans say. So once they yield a profit, they can in fact do anything with that money.
It includes a tripartite arrangement between government, who buy farms in distress, beneficiaries or emerging farmers who lease the farms and make them productive, with the assistance of strategic partners or BEE-approved corporates, appointed by the beneficiaries who help with production, training, marketing and exports.
It is the only program that provides financial and including land acquisition support under the auspices of the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform.
The policy was launched by the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform in 2009 to reverse the legacy of displacement and dispossession of black farmers by the Land Acts of 1913 and 1936. But commercial agriculture is also regarded globally as an untapped gold mine, particularly in Africa. It is therefore a magnet for multinationals intent on profiting from the sustainable natural resource.
The World Bank projects that within 15 years, this will be a 1 trillion industry. And that is why we see the big players participating from far afield and also locally, and not necessarily to the benefit of our own managers and our own workers.
On the back of that, they're asking for lots of state resources to support their project.
But it is also a magnet for corruption. Government watchdog bodies and police estimate that out of the more than 1,300 farms and over 1 million hectares redistributed in all 9 provinces, up to 300 million rand has been siphoned from recap coffers by corrupt officials, non-compliant farmers and unethical strategic partners.
The magnitude of this within South Africa is unfortunately there.
I would be surprised if there's no corruption there.
Since 2014, the farm Nirvana in Dedurans has become the site of a bitter dispute between beneficiaries of the government's recap program and the Western Cape Department of Rural Development and Land Reform, as well as the farm's strategic partner. In 2010, a cooperative called the Big Five, comprising an agronomist, financial managers, a community activist and a qualified administrator, applied for a farm to lease.
I was very excited about the recapitalization program, because for me it meant that our people are going to at last now get their development, that get the fruits, that are being reaped, from their land.
In 2012, Nirvana came on the market. In the official farm assessment, the report gave Nirvana the green light as a viable commercial farm with great potential, but cautioned that due to its small size, it would not be advisable to have more than 1 beneficiary and 1 strategic partner to ensure the farm's profitability and sustainability.
Before we came to the farm, we said that we would like to make this a model farm where ourselves as the cooperatives and the farm workers would benefit out of it.
The Big Five were approved as lessees by the National Land Allocation Control Committee on the 25th of July 2013. But although they have been on the farm since 2013, the department has not yet signed a lease agreement with them.
The decision, to approve BFF or Big Five, was taken in Pretoria, and that was taken according to national law. Now that decision is binding.
The Western Cape Department of Rural Development has not responded to our request for an interview, so we are using extracts from an interview conducted with them during the first part of this investigation.
We have not been able to date to put a contract in place with them.
May I ask why?
Since around February last year, we've made an agreement with them that they will take the farm workers on board as a securing of tenure, that they will take the farm workers on board as partners on the farm. So we had to sort that out.
But although the recap policy provides for security of tenure for farm workers, it does not stipulate that they must be equal partners with approved beneficiaries in order to access the recap funds.
In our case, we have been forced in a situation where we should share the farm together with the farm workers, and the officials claim that this is the government's policy, but there is no such policy.
The Big Five accused the National Department's head of security, Dumisani Lupungela, of threatening them if they refused to take the 28 farm workers on board as equal beneficiary partners.
Dumisani Lupungela is the one who came on the 8th of February 2014 to come and tell us that we are here fraudulently on the farm, and that if we do not agree to share the farm with the farm workers, he would make the situation very messy for us.
Both the National Department and Lupungela declined Special Assignment's request for an interview. Members of the Big Five also accused the department of imposing a strategic partner on them that they do not trust.
When you take people through a new process, take them through a process of really showing them the ropes, and then also it's like an induction program, if I may say, whereby you say, if you are employed here, you will be sitting here, you'll be doing A, B, C, D, E, and then this is your, role here. But that hasn't happened.
The strategic partner is the black empowerment company, Bono, that is 50% owned by a Dutch fruit export company called the South African Fruit Exporters, or SAFE.
We would invite every strategic partner on the database, and we will go to the farm, do a local inspection. We will then invite them to an interview. We have a panel that sits. We have the beneficiaries that sit on that panel, and it's a scoring system. And on the scoring system, Bono came out as the person with the most points.
But the Big Five members say that despite their written request for another strategic partner, their wishes were ignored by the workers and the department, who favoured Bono. Special Assignment wanted to get the farm workers' side of the story, but when we revisited Nirvana to interview them, we were threatened and locked inside the property. It was only after pleading with one of the foremen that we were able to exit unharmed. There are 17 recapitalisation farming projects in the Western Cape, some of them successful, others not. On Nirvana, 3 years and 4 harvests later, the recapitalisation has not even begun. Despite repeated complaints to the regional and national departments of rural development, the Big Five have not yet received their lease agreement, and correspondence from within the regional department reveals that attempts are being made to evict or relocate them, but they are not budging.
Government told us that when we come to this farm, we would be given a lease that would, extend to 30 years. And then after that, there would be another possibility of getting another 20 years. So we're talking 50 years, So whether somebody somewhere out there wishes that, the Big Five would move out tomorrow, it's not going to happen.
The situation has become increasingly volatile between the Big Five and the 28 farm workers who support Bono.
We have been called kafirs in this farm not once, not twice, more than 4 or 5 times, you know, and people who came from the Eastern Cape to steal their land. And we know that that is not coming from the workers, but the workers have actually fallen into that trap.
In addition to not signing a lease with the Big Five, the department has allowed Bono to operate on the farm without a contract.
Because we haven't been able to lock down all the contractual arrangements, he is at the moment supporting us at risk. We can't let the farmer deteriorate while Big Five is making their mind up in terms of signing or getting to the point where they sign the agreements or the documentation that they need to sign for us to activate and get the recap through.
But members of the Big Five accuse Bono of mismanagement and lack of transparency. The department, however, disagrees.
There's two farms, Mount Piquet, for example, is a very good example. The other, almost more, for me, it's a more exciting one, is 2 farms out in Piketberg, Riekloof 1 and Riekloof 2, where Bono has been bringing on board the farm workers. In fact, they are the beneficiaries. They've taken care and control of their business, and they're making huge profits.
Bono's CEO is Evans Malokiso Nevondo. His successes on Riekloof and Mont Piquet have been publicized in the media. But these success stories are also not controversy-free. Correspondence to the department from the Public Services Commission reveals that in December 2015, a department official, Babalwa Magoda, held a directorship in a private company associated with one of those farms. The Department of Rural Development did not respond to Special Assignments inquiries about this alleged conflict of interest. Also in December 2015, Bonas Nevondo addressed one of his reports on Mont Piquet to Dumisani Lupungela, who heads security in the National Department and therefore has no direct role in regional operations. It was Lupungela who allegedly threatened the Big Five if they did not take the 28 workers on board as equal partners. Through his communications consultant, Nevondo insisted that his only connection to Lupungela relates strictly to business. He did not elaborate on what type of business and declined to be interviewed. In its 2014 business plan for Nirvana, Bono proposes a 70-30 split in equity between the beneficiaries and itself. But how feasible would recap be with 28 farm workers and 5 members of the Big Five cooperative as beneficiaries, totaling 33 beneficiaries, a situation that would be contrary to the recommendations of the farm assessment that too many beneficiaries on such a small farm would compromise its profitability?
It is overkill. It is on the sums of provided, it was not going to have any outcomes except for the original seller making a huge profit on the face of it and continuing its operation as usual. Still maintaining force in the valley because it's also the owner of other farms and getting a huge subsidy.
The farm Nirvana was originally 2 portions totaling 39 hectares of a farm called De La Haye. In 2007, it was sold to a company called QuickVest for just over 7 million rand. QuickVest is a shelf company for SAFE, the company that owns 50% of Bono. In fact, SAFE and its directors operate through a labyrinth of subsidiaries, shelf and private companies. In 2012, QuickVest, or SAFE, sold the farm to government for 19 million rand, making a profit of over 11 million rand. As the farm assessment report confirms, SAFE wanted to continue exporting the farm's produce even after it had sold the farm to government. As QuickVest, it kept the profits of the 2012-2013 harvest. And as Special Assignment revealed in October last year, SAFE still maintains a visible presence in Nirvana.
One needs to drill deeper to find the reasoning and the justification for a company farm selling 2 portions in 2012 for 19 million and then re-entering the equation with a business plan to do the further development and applying for recap.
Nirvana has become a microcosm of the problems in implementing agricultural land reform, and its specific narrative is inseparable from the volatile socio-economic and political history of the Hex River Valley. The farm worker population in the DA-controlled Western Cape makes up the highest number of workers in South Africa in the fruit and wine industry. In 2012, the minimum wage for the sector was 69 rand, but many workers were paid even less than that, perpetuating the cycle of impoverishment and inequality. This led to violent strike action that continued into 2013, nearly crippling farming in the region. Labour unrest would also have had ramifications for the 2016 municipal elections.
I'm sure you've seen the uprise, farm worker uprise, and indeed there was a need to acquire land, first of all for production and to get farm workers within the sector of economic activity, as well as securing the tenure of farm workers.
But the 28 workers were only mentioned as equal partners by the regional department in February 2014, 6 months after the Big Five were approved as lessees.
They've got houses, they've got electricity for free, and they've got their jobs guaranteed. Nobody will be fired in this farm, But then this divisiveness came when Dumisani came here and said, you are going to share this farm 50-50, and verbally. I mean, can somebody, come and contradict law?
Research by NGOs reveals that the origins of the strike began in 2012 on a farm called Kirbushkloof. Organized predominantly by women, it was a revolt against a fruit company that took over management of the farm and allegedly tried to force workers to sign contracts agreeing to a cut in wages from a minimum of 90 rand a day to 64 rand across the board. That company was SAFE.
It is a corporation with international investors, a strong Dutch component, and the management structure is also people drawn from the Netherlands. But then they pride themselves on having a strong, what they call BEE, Black Empowerment component.
SAFE took over the farm after the death of the previous farm owner, Pierre Smit, who had a good relationship with the farm workers.
The workers felt outraged, they felt betrayed, and they decided to do something. So they called a meeting and they decided to go on strike. They also brought in the ANC, who came through the area to the area in the person of Marius Fransman to express support for the workers.
If a farmers in this area decided, because farm workers are just people that they see as slaves, if you still believe they are slaves 18 years into our democracy, you will feel it in your pocket. And we want to say to the provincial government and Zille and Van Rensburg, the DA MEC here in the Western Cape, you cannot side with farmers on this matter. This can't be.
After 4 days, the management conceded 130 rand a day wage. So more than workers were earning before they cut it, and restored workers to their permanent status, which also showed that this was never about the fact that they couldn't afford paying the workers the wage. It was about the fact that they want to squeeze as much as possible out of people.
SAFE has repeatedly denied any intention to exploit the farm workers. The company was co-founded in 1997 by Dutch nationals Irvin Boland and Anton de Vries.
Anton de Vries made a statement, I think it was 2014 or 2013, in an international magazine in Netherlands, that his biggest asset in South Africa is his relationship with government. That speaks volumes. We don't know what did he mean by that, but for me it was something that was revealing a lot about him and our country.
But as a foreign company, SAFE was not officially on the government database. So in 2007, it created its BEE component, Bono.
The same actors are also major exporters from neighboring countries,
Such as?
Namibia and Zimbabwe.
De Vries is also the owner of several farms in All Days, Limpopo, where a controversial driven hunt took place in 2015. A company search reveals that, together with De Vries and SAFE Director Quinton Scott, Bono CEO Evans Nivondo is a director of All Days Development Pty Limited. Scott resigned from this company in 2014. Previously, he was a Bono director, but also resigned in 2013 and returned to the SAFE fold. Bono manages the Chivula Community Property Association on the farms where the hunt took place, but Bono and SAFE insist they are separate entities. Although still a shareholder in SAFE, co-founder Irvin Boland resigned as a director from SAFE several years ago and is now a director of UFF Agri-Asset Management. UFF invests in farms to make them commercially viable, sustainable agri-businesses in partnership with Old Mutual's Future Growth. After our investigation in 2015, Boland invited Special Assignment to visit Hochland, one of the farms financed by UFF and Future Growth, but without involvement in the government's recapitalisation program. We've been invited by Irvin Boland, the co-founder of SAFE, to accompany him to Piketberg to visit several farms that are funded by UFF in partnership with Future Growth. This farm certainly seems to be a success story, a model agricultural business with an excellent annual harvest and dividends, comfortable accommodation for seasonal workers, and a beautifully equipped creche for the children of the farm workers. A far cry from the appalling creche facilities Special Assignment saw when it visited Nirvana in 2015.
There's a creche here. Most unfortunately, if you can have a look at that creche, it's horrible.
The farm Hochland in Piketberg also has certified worker, management and skills training programs. But on Nirvana, the Big Five claims there has been little skills training and development.
Hazel, I would be lying to you if I would say there has been anything, any development, anything.
As required by the policy, Bono's business plan outlines skills and training development programs for the beneficiaries, including development of the creche. But although compiled in 2014, the business plan has not yet received approval on national level. Only then can it be implemented, and recap funds cannot be issued without an approved business plan. So the Big Five have become a thorn in the side of both government and Bono. They are still on the farm, but despite their professional qualifications, they now have the status of farm workers. In fact, the 28 farm workers have received a reward for their labour from Bono's reported profit. They each received a R1,000 bonus at the end of 2015, but correspondence shows that the Big Five were excluded.
This farm makes millions, and that is what we want to understand from Bono, that what have they been doing with the money.
The strategic partner is also required to submit monthly financial reports to the department.
Right from the start, we've been asking Bono for financial statements, in fact, on Nirvana as well.
That's what I'm interested
Yes.
in. So would I be able to access the financial statements?
Yes.
We are still waiting for proof of Bono's monthly reports, as well as financial statements for SAFE and Bono since 2013.
The company, the strategic partner that is managing a farm with beneficiaries, is supposed to give annual financial statement, audited statements, and those documents actually tell, you about the liquidity of the company, or the business, whether the business is profitable or not. And these are the things that, Bono/SAFE are hiding, from us.
So what has become of the dividends earned from the exports of these grapes? In whose bank account does the money sit? When will it be ploughed back into the farm? And when will the beneficiaries receive it?
We couldn't reinvest the farm without any agreements in place. I think it would just be making sense, because then the department won't be able to keep a record of the reinvestment of that money without any agreement in place. So
Where's the money sitting? Is it sitting in some account somewhere?
Yes, at this point in time, as from the record, there's a financial statement that indicates that the money is in the account of Bono, And the agreement at this point in time is that that money is even forming part of the business plan that has already been agreed upon by the parties. That would be an application for recapitalization. That business plan, that money would particularly be used for infrastructure, with special reference to the Big Five had a request that the creche at Nirvana be redone.
But the Big Five are taking legal action. They have charged Safe and Bono with fraud, mismanagement, and even malicious damage to property.
It's happening, and under government's watch.
And it looks like they are being taken seriously. After 3 years of delays, the Department of Rural Development has finally undertaken to investigate their allegations. And together with other farming cooperatives and intended beneficiaries in Beaufort West and the Northern Cape, they are seeking legal advice on launching a class action to demand their rightful fruits of government's land reform.
We are still here. We are going to farm this farm because we have a story to tell. We have also a point to prove that black people can farm.